With voting machines dusted off in Chicago and downstate, authorities have prepped their war room in Springfield, where on Election Day, a force of top IT investigators will be backed up by law enforcement and a special military unit poised to respond if there is an attack on our election infrastructure here. That even as the FBI now strongly downplays any notion of a foreign cyber attack poised for November 8th. When voters line up Election Day, stand side by side in Illinois' 108 election zones, only one thing matters to most: that when their ballot is slipped into this machine, it ends up being counted. It may be the greatest public trust, in recent years challenged by false narratives that the process is flawed, the count not to be trusted, and the equipment part of some grand conspiracy. Tonight, this from the FBI and U.S. Cybersecurity Agency stating that no compromise of the election system has been detected and that any large-scale disruptions are unlikely to prevent or affect voting next month. It is a hardline message tonight being underscored by Illinois authorities, who in 2016 had to fend off a Russian attack on the state's voter database, resulting in the theft of personal information for 500,000 Illinois registered voters.
The kinds of attacks that can be done remotely to government systems are not going to reach, let's say, a voting tabulator in a polling place. Because all that equipment is never on the internet. It's never vulnerable to these kind of remote cyber attacks. This idea of questioning the integrity of the election system is fairly recent. In prior elections before this came in, it was not a question of, is it rigged?
Even as the military now backs up Illinois election security efforts, tonight authorities here say they are more concerned about a homegrown threat.
We're looking for disinformation that's put deliberately on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, wherever, to misinform voters.
The I-Team Insider tonight, why there are lingering questions about election integrity and what authorities are doing to answer them. Rob?
Chuck, in 2022, haven't election officials and law enforcement had time to repair the problems that seem to have started in 2016? In 2020, for that election, we didn't hear a lot about massive voter fraud or problems from an outside threat other than the misinformation.
You would think that 6 years would be more than enough time, but don't forget this is the government, where things, in order to be bought and paid for, have to go through the process. Government officials in Chicago and Cook County, across the state and really across the country, are saying they have fixed all of these issues, prompting what the FBI says is that there are no problems out there on their radar that they are aware of, at least, and that they expect things to be very smooth next month.
When the FBI says there are no threats, isn't that always the case, that we don't necessarily know we're under attack until it happens?
This is the post 9/11 strategy. What you don't know, there may not have been any kind of a threat. On the other hand, the government may well have tamped down dozens or hundreds of similar 9/11 style threats. The same thing goes with elections. They put these systems in place. We are under constant cyber attack, according to what the experts say. It's hard to know how many of these they actually are able to stop in progress, how many are automatically discounted and discarded.
Election Day, a little more than 4 weeks away. What's the biggest challenge for the people who oversee voting and for law enforcement that monitors any potential wrongdoing?
It really sounds like it's far less of a foreign threat this year in 2022 than it is maybe the guy down the street in his basement putting out false information, trying to alert voters on Election Day that polling places are either broken down or that there's some issue there, that your vote is going to be stolen, or that polling places will be closing at 4 o'clock instead of the normal 7 o'clock. So they're really very closely monitoring those kinds of things in an effort to change the voter turnout on Election Day, and claim that they have these close agreements with social media companies to sweep in and take care of these as they're happening in real time.
This certainly won't be the last story we do on keeping our election integrity intact. As you and the team, the I-Team, did in this story, is your sense from sources that the state of Illinois is well prepared for what could possibly come our way?
As well prepared as anybody could be, I think, Rob. They've spent a tremendous amount of money. They've had federal funds and state funds thrown at this for the last 6 years. They have all the equipment in place. They have this war room in Springfield. They have a lot of manpower, and they have this National Guard unit that is heavily trained in not only monitoring cyber attacks, but responding to them quickly. I'm not sure that if you listen to what they're saying and all these resources are there, that there's much more that could be done at this point.
Yeah, that struck me as a bit of surprise hearing in your report the military's involved. By that you mean National Guard mostly?
It is. It's the Illinois National Guard. They're not actually out there in uniform with guns and bayonets, but they are on standby that night in a group to respond to something if it happens.
You know, Chuck Gowdy with the I-Team Insider. Always appreciate your time.
Thanks, Rob.
Hey, if you like that video, be sure to subscribe to our ABC7 Chicago YouTube channel.